Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad-gītā ki jai, Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki jai, Guru Parampara ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan Yajna ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So Hare Krishna, welcome everybody for today's session of Conceptual Overview of Bhagavad-gītā. And today we are doing the session 3. And today we are going to discuss some concepts about Jīva, the living entity. Okay. So Jīva means also living entity or soul. So where we are, if you see where we are, this is our syllabus for this mini course. And we discussed the introduction, emphasizing the importance of human form of life and asking questions beyond our day-to-day eating, sleeping, and asking questions about spirituality. Who am I? Why am I suffering? What happens after death? Those kinds of inquiry, and how Bhagavad-gītā has answers to all the problems in life, and how to study Bhagavad-gītā under the disciplic succession, and the mood should be in a submissive inquiries. And then we started discussing the 5 main topics of Gita, where we talked about Ishvara last time. We talked about in 5 sub ways, like how he is a controller, how he is is extremely lovable, and how he knows everything. So even if he is all powerful and he controls everything, and if he doesn't care for us, then there's no use for us, right? But because he's lovable and he's a well-wishing person, so when we love him, we will also be very happy and satisfied. So that's the goal of human life, as given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prema Pumartho Mahan. Okay, so after we discuss the Ishvara, so now we are discussing Jiva, the living entity. So we are here. Okay, so that's our map. So now let's begin discussing. First, before getting to Jiva, there is a segue. We need to do a segue and discuss about some of the energies of Krishna, or the Supreme Lord. Okay, so Krishna's energies. So there are many energies actually. Nana Shaktayaha, many energies are there. But you can categorize them as 3 main categories. One is this Shaktayaha. This is Sanskrit table, but you all know Devanagari, so it's easy to follow. Antaranga Shakti means internal energy. It's basically, and Bhahiranga is external energy. Tatastha is in between both of them. That's why this is green, means is a very good energy for us to be influenced by. This is red. Usually it causes karma. I will explain what they are. And Tatastha means the Jiva, which is in between both of them. Okay. And Antaranga Shakti is like the Krishna is called Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. So Sat means eternal, eternity. So there is no destruction for that, eternal. So the potency is called Sandhini Shakti, which actually is the one which is a substratum for all the spiritual worlds and the paraphernalia, like objects and even everything. That's the potency by which everything exists. Basically, if anything exists, that's because of this such Shakti. Then Samvit is, Vit is a dhatu which indicates knowledge. So Chit is also about knowledge. So this is the potency by which Krishna knows himself, and we all can know Krishna, and everybody knows about everything. So it's about the potency for knowledge. And Hladini is this happiness potency. Like, that's all within Krishna, but it's externally manifested as Srimati Radharani. So his pleasure potency is Radharani. That's why the maximum happiness he gets is through the interaction with Srimati Radharani. So that's briefly about all these energies. So now we have to little bit study about the 3 main energies. There's a shloka, or the reference for this. So Vishnu Shakti para prokta kshetrajñakya tatha para avidya karma sanyanya tritiya shakti rishyate. Okay, so this can easily be understood in a table format. Okay, so the first Antaranga Shakti or Vishnu Shakti, they told here, Vishnu Shakti. Vishnu Shakti is also called as Antaranga Shakti or spiritual energy or internal energy. We discussed that in the previous chart. Okay. So that is called Swarupa Shakti. That means his own internal potency. Okay, Swarupa Shakti. And this Para. Para means transcendental or spiritual. Is spiritual. And here Bahiranga Shakti, external energy or material energy, is called Avidya Shakti. Here it's given Avidya, Vidya Shakti. Avidya means basically ignorance in a way you can tell, or um, some of the Sanskrit words you cannot really translate actually. So Avidya means lack of knowledge, in kind of you can tell like that. But it's an active potency. Because of that, we forget that we are the soul. We forget the relationship with Krishna. So avidya karma sanya means because of which we get into all the karma because of engaging in sense gratification. This is apara, material. Apara means material. Para is transcendental or spiritual. Apara is opposite of this, material. That means what's the difference between spiritual and material? Spiritual doesn't deteriorate, it doesn't come into being, it doesn't vanquish, right? The soul always exists. So similarly, this material energy, but opposite of this, material energy. So material energy goes through six transformation. So anything what we see in this world goes through six transformation. First, it's born, then it grows, then it stays for some time, then it starts to dwindle and deteriorate. Okay, and vanquish finally. So, and another in the middle, there is producing byproducts. So it produces byproducts like having children, like that, you know. So everybody goes through all of this. So the body, our bodies will go through all of this, but whereas the soul is spiritual. So body is temporary material, whereas the soul is spiritual. And what is this Tatastha Shakti? That's where we are focused on. That is also called Jīva Shakti or Kshetrajna Shakti. Kshetrajna means one who knows the body. Okay. So Jīva Shakti, why it's called Jīva Shakti means the Jīvas or the living entities, what we see fall into this category. They're very tiny in energy when compared to both of these energies because they both are actually Krishna's personal potencies. So they are very too much they're huge. As powerful as Krishna, they are also as powerful. Right? Krishna says, Daivi hi esha mama Daivi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. He says, this energy is my Daivi Shakti. Even though it's a material energy, it is Daivi Shakti, which is difficult, duratyaya, difficult for a Jiva to overcome. Because the Jiva being very tiny. You know, just because even though it's spiritual, that's a very important thing. Even though it's spiritual, quantity wise, because it's very small, it gets overpowered by inferior energy, even though it is inferior. Material energy, even though if it's inferior, because the jiva is very small, it gets affected by that, influenced by that. Okay. So, see, we can give an example, like, for example, okay, human is powerful then, let's say animals, right? But there is, in general, but let's say there is a small baby, but there is a big dog, okay? And if big dog comes and shouts, the baby can also get scared, even though human is considered maybe higher birth or more powerful than a dog, right? So that's a example we can understand. Like Tatastha Shakti Jivas are Anu, very small. It is described in Bhagavad-gītā. The size of the soul is 1/10,000 the tip of the hair. To take a hair and divide into 10,000 parts, one of the part is that's the size of the soul. But when compared to all this energy, imagine just go to the ocean shore and how vast is the ocean and how many living entities are living within that. There are fish and there is aquatic beings and makaras and even there is flora and fauna, all these things, and that's all part of material energy. When compared to that, we're so tiny, we are watching all of this on the beach. So you can imagine, right, how small we are, right? So that's why all this we can understand that even though it's spiritual, it gets affected by these energies. So the idea is that this jiva is called tatastha. Tatastha means, tata means like a bank. Bank means they're both side. One side there is a river, other side there is a sand. So, and this Jiva is situated on the bank. So that means it can either go into the water or the ocean of Krishna Prema, or it can also go to the sand or desert of material world. Okay, so that means either of these energies can pull the Jiva either side. Okay, depending on how we take shelter. See, if we, even in this material world, while in this material world, if you are always doing devotional service, we are in this energy, hence we will not accrue any karma. But while in this material world, we only live for our enjoyment, then we are in the effect of this material energy, which takes us away from Krishna. So the internal energy brings us closer to Krishna and gives us spiritual satisfaction. Material energy takes us away from Krishna and gives us karma and bonding and other things. So that's the reason I had to bring all of this to tell what is the constitutional position of a jiva. So is everybody clear this concept? This is a little bit technical. Is everybody's okay? Otherwise, you can raise hand. I will clarify a little bit.
Yes, Mother, it's very clear.
Very clear. Okay, good. So now let's go to actual definition of jiva. Okay. So jiva or the living entity. So what is its constitutional position? So Krishna says in Bhagavad-gītā, Mamaivamsho Jīvaloke Jīva Bhuta Sanatana Manashashyani Indriyani Prakritisthani Karshati. So he's telling the Jiva is Mama Amshaha, Mama Eva Amshaha. That means it's my part. So because it's his part, just as Krishna is Satchidananda Vigraha, Jiva is also Satchidananda Vigraha actually. But at the same time, part doesn't mean Krishna lost his form. Okay, so Krishna is intact. He has his own personal form in the spiritual world and he has his own pastimes. But at the same time, this is it's called Vibhinnamsha. It's his fragmental part. Like how we can imagine, understand this is take sun. Okay, the sun globe is there and sun planet is there and sun is there. The actual sun god is riding the chariot and moving the sun. But there are sun rays everywhere. So when we see the sun rays, we can also see this is sun, but they are separated from the sun, because of they are so tiny, because they're separated. If they fall on the ground, they can get extinguished. But if they fall on another dry substance, that may trigger a fire. Similarly, even though we are part of Krishna, we are called separated parts and very tiny, that we could be influenced by both energies, and also uh, simultaneously we can be considered as his part. So this is called achintya bedha abeda tattva. Anyway, that's more technical that we can discuss. So simultaneously there is a difference from Krishna, because the difference is in the quantity. He is huge, we are small. Simultaneously there is abheda, oneness, which is in the constitution. He is Sachidananda Vigraha, we are also Sachidananda Vigraha. That's the one we need to understand. And Jiva Loke, this is basically the world of Jivas, Jiva, living entity. Sanatana is eternal. So it didn't, nobody created it. How Krishna is ever always there, we are also always there. Okay. But what it's doing in this world, Karshati, it's struggling in this world, Prakritistani in this world, with what? Mana Shashtyani Indriyani, with the mind and the six senses, like eyes, ears, nose, tongue, all with all these senses, we are struggling here because we try to do something, we cannot focus. Immediately, eyes want to watch something on the YouTube, ears want to hear something nice, tongue wants to eat something. Let's say downstairs, people are cooking something. We immediately feel, oh, wow, what is that? Then we cannot focus, especially mind. It's taking us everywhere. We are very distracted. So the living entity is soul, even though it's spiritual, all these material things is influencing it and causing it a lot of trouble. Okay, so that is the constitutional position, and because of that and because of the karma, we have to go through, the soul has to go through many species, life after life of life, and just be circling in the cycle of birth and death. But whereas there are some jivas in the spiritual world also, that's what I will discuss at the end, the categories of jivas, that there are two categories of jivas. So that time we will mention these living entities, the jivas there, even though they're tiny, they have knowledge of Krishna and they love to serve Krishna and they are happy there with the Krishna in the spiritual world. But whereas we don't have knowledge, hence we don't know how to serve, and we are now given option to enjoy, and we are fully immersed in this option to enjoy, and we are suffering. Of course, nobody says we are suffering. People actually really think they're enjoying. Only a spiritualist gradually realizes actually there is no happiness in this material world. That requires some purification. So then this is the constitutional position of the Jiva. Jivera Swarupahai Krishnera Nityadas. So it's Jiva is Krishna's Das. So how can we assume, for example, we see so many in this world, so many people, some people are atheists, they don't even accept God. Then how can we say they are eternal servants of Krishna? Because either they are serving his internal energy, or they're serving their external energy. Either case, either they're serving their senses, which is part of material energy, or they're serving their desires, or they're serving their bosses. Somebody or the other they're serving. That's why they are servant. Or if they're devotees, they're serving Krishna, they're serving devotees, they're serving Guru. So they're serving in the internal energy. Because the energies are Krishna's energies, indirectly they are serving Krishna only. So that is how we should understand this. So nobody is free, nobody is the boss. Everybody is actually fully dependent on Krishna's energies, right? Without his sanction, without the Bhumi Rapo Analo Vayu Kammano Buddhi Revacha, what will we do? Everything is created. This world is Om Purnamadam Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate. Even though he's complete, he has created so many complete wholes that it's complete in itself. This whole universe is complete in itself. It has everything for its sustenance. It's a whole globe is complete. And so many complete universes he has created, and still he remains complete. It doesn't mean he gave a piece of his body to create all of this. So that's how powerful he is, and that's how everything happens. So all for our enjoyment, everything for our enjoyment is there in the material world. But the only thing is, if we try to enjoy without God consciousness or Krishna in center, then it's not going to be satisfying. As we discussed, it's mundane rasa. It's not going to satisfy us. So the synonyms for Jiva is Jiva, Kshetrajna, living entity, and soul. Okay. If you see Bhagavad-gītā later, you will see this. Kshetram janati iti. Kshetra means field. What is a field? Field is a body. So this soul, which is residing in this body, knows everything about this body. That's why it's called Kshetrajna. Okay. Okay. So once we know, then we'll move on to the next one. What are some of the characteristics of soul? Right? We need to know. Now we are kind of, understanding this new concept called as soul, right? So what are some of the characteristics described in Bhagavad-gītā? So this, as the body grows, the same soul continues. And as the body grows from boyhood to youth to old age, similarly, at the moment of death, the soul takes on new bodies. It's as if like it's changing the garments. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani jirnani navani vastrani. So basically, just as somebody gives up the old garments which are torn and takes up new garments, because the body after a certain point cannot facilitate our enjoyment. So the soul, then there is no use for this body anymore. Then body falls away and the soul goes on to take on new body so that he can continue to enjoy. Okay. So that's how this whole cycle of reincarnation or cycle of birth and death continues. So the body is changing even while we are in this body. Every 7 years, we get new cells. Okay, so some of the characteristics as discussed in Bhagavad-gītā, we will not read all of this. This reference is given here. You can look up, this is second chapter, 23 to 25. What you can see as a summary is that the soul, cannot be destroyed. Actually, it's indestructible, unbreakable, and nothing material can touch it because it's fully spiritual. It's immovable and it's existing everywhere. That means there's souls, living entity everywhere. There are souls in fire also, in water. We can see fish, everything. The souls are everywhere. So they are given appropriate body to wither their temperature. Like for example, the souls in the sun planet, they are given a fiery body to be able to handle the heat. Like that, we cannot go there with this body. We'll get burnt. Okay, so these are some of the characteristics. And these are the verses. You can refer to it also later. So now continuing, this what I wanted to focus is that this is spiritual in nature. Okay, there should not be any doubt about it. The soul is spiritual because it's Amsha of Krishna. And as I said, it's Amsha, so it's part and parcel. So therefore, it is also Satchidananda Vigraha. So we are also eternal Sat Chit. We are also full of knowledge and we are also full of Ananda actually. But because we misidentify with the body, we are experiencing distress all the time. And so we are not the body. That's a basic ABC of spirituality. We're not the body. So it's like there's a bird in the cage. So the bird is actually the soul, and this body is the cage. We are struggling. And if somebody wants to take care of this bird, and if they just keep polishing the cage, what will happen? And they starve the bird inside, what will happen? The bird will die. So similarly, if we take care of just our bodily needs, okay, I'm eating properly, I'm sleeping properly, okay, all these things only take care of body, but we neglect the needs for the soul. There is some food for the soul we need to give, and we need to work on our spiritual journey. If we neglect, then that's where we get into frustration in the world. Okay, so the soul is situated in the region of the heart. That's why when somebody says I, they always point to their heart. Intuitively we all know the soul exists in the region of the heart. And how do we know soul exists is it can be perceived as a consciousness throughout the body. So anywhere small tiny prick happens in the leg, we can feel it. Actually pains a lot, right? We can feel the pain all over. So anywhere anything happens to this body, we can feel it because this consciousness is spread all over this body. But whereas we cannot actually exactly understand the pain our child or some other dear one goes through, we can empathize. But the real pain only that person knows because we are not conscious of their bodies. But whereas the Paramatma, Krishna as Paramatma, is aware of everybody's because he's Sarvagnya, is aware of everybody's pain, pleasure, happiness, distress, is aware of everybody's thoughts, even. So that's how he is. That's how he will reciprocate based on our urge to take his shelter. And Avinashi, indestructible. So even though the body goes away, it is called like, when somebody dies, we say he went, he left, she left. Who left? The body is exactly there right in front. Same hands, legs, everything is there. Before the death happens, we embrace the child, or we embrace that person and we give loving dealings with that person. The moment the soul leaves, nobody wants to touch the body. They actually take bath after touching the body. So what happened? What left? The soul left. That's the soul left on to go on with another body elsewhere. And this is important factor. It is endowed with a free will. Even though it's so tiny, it has always a choice it can make. Every minute we have a choice to make whether we want to do this activity as a devotional service to Krishna, or we want to do it independent of him and enjoy. Because of which appropriate effects we need to face. If we want to enjoy on our own, then karma will start acting. But if you do any activity in devotional service, there is no karma for that. So that is the whole point. So we are given tiny free will, and it's our responsibility to, especially Manushya, Karmanubandhini Manushya Loke, especially in this material world, the humans are given is obliged for karma. Not any species would get karma. So that's why we should be responsible. How do we use our free will? And it's controlled by Maya. Either it's Antaranga Maya or Bahiranga Maya, or it's internal potency or external potency, internal energy or external energy. So never can this Jiva can say I'm independent. Both of the energies are always working at any moment. Okay, either of them. Okay, so that's this is actually the crux of what is Jiva actually. Any questions so far?
Uh,
Okay.
Ma'am, I have one question. I know this may not pertain right now, but the moment you say that every service should be devotional, should be in service of Krishna, this is somewhere maybe at the last you can help me understand how do I be into that realm all the time? I want to be. So if
Okay.
you can give me some practical applications, I'll be very happy.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So actually that's what I will actually, yeah, today, end of today's session, part of your answer will be answered. Then in the question answer session, we'll revisit that. Okay, Sheetal?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we'll move on. So this is a very nice verse which describes the soul. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidенam ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyah ascharyavat chainam anyashrunoti shutvapyenam vedana chaiva kaschit. So what they're telling is ascharyavat means with wonder. Ascharyam everybody knows, right? Ascharyam means surprise, wonder. So with surprise people see the soul. When they see the soul, that how the soul illumines the body, and how the body grows because of the soul, and they people become wonder, wow, what a wonderful thing the soul is. And some people vadati, they speak about the soul amazingly. And when somebody gives discourses, a spiritual thing, when they speak about the soul and the relationship with Krishna and all these things, that becomes very amazing. And somebody thi- uh, somebody thinks about it. Anyaha. Ashcharyavat chainam anyaha shrunoti. They hear. Other people, they hear of the soul as amazing. When, if, for example, today you heard something about the soul, then you'll be thinking, wow, really, soul is so wonderful. Right? This is the crux. They're telling Shrutva api yenam. After knowing about Shrutva, after hearing about the soul api, Vedana chaiva kaschit. Nobody actually knows about the soul fully. That's what they're telling. Nobody will understand. Forget about understanding about Krishna, because he's so the supreme controller is our father. A child cannot understand about father unless the father reveals. Forget about the father. No, even about the soul and the spiritual nature, and all the different types of jivas, nobody will understand completely. That's what they're telling. So all we did is little bit, give some concepts. Okay, and of course we can keep on learning. So now let's come into the other important aspect of categories of jivas. As I mentioned, there are some jivas in the spiritual world also. So why some jivas in the spiritual world, and how we are here, and how we can go there. No, that's the whole thing. Unless we understand this categorization, we will not be able to understand that journey. Okay, so this is a spiritual world. There is a Goloka Dham in the spiritual world, which is not touched by any of the six transformation of birth, dwindling, diminishing, deterioration. It's always existing, and where Krishna, along with this, loving devotees like gopis or gopas or cows and Yashoda Mata, is all having continuous Nitya Leela. Eternal pastimes are happening there. And here we have this material world, where all this, there is some, it stays for some time, the material world, and after some time, it gets exhausted by when the Mahavishnu inhales. And then again, when he exhales, all the universes come into being and they destroy. So that's where we are here, actually, one of the small, tiny fragment. But there are innumerable Vaikuntha planets, and there are innumerable devotees, jivas also serving Vishnu favorably in all these planets. And this whole thing, you can always think the spiritual creation is actually 3/4 of the whole creation. So what we see as this material universes is only 1/4. That means more of the living entities are actually serving Krishna. Only few are not serving, right? But in this world, if you see this world, very few are actually serving. Maximum people are into their own enjoyment. That's why devotees are very, very rare and very special, and it's very difficult. Like, for example, I did all the thing. I said, we are not charging fees also, and I practiced it myself. I'm giving out of my own, what to say, my heart to give this knowledge to others. But still, how many people come, or how many people are interested, right? So that itself shows we are all here for our own enjoyment, and we are actually feeling happiness, right? That's why this material world also, only few people start to begin to realize there should be something beyond this. I'm not really being satisfied. So now, what is that category? So this is a little bit technical. This is in Sanskrit, but I'll just briefly summarize the highlighted portion. This is given by Jīva Goswami in his Sandarbha. This is Sandarbha is like a thesis kind of thing, Paramatma Sandarbha. So he's saying, so for example, Vargadvayam. Vargadvayam means two categories. Ekaha Vargaha Anaditaha Eva Bhagavat Unmukaha. So one category from eternity, Anaditaha means eternity, Bhagavat Unmukaha means they're always serving Krishna or favorably disposed to Krishna. Anyahatu, other one, Anaditaha Eva Bhagavat Paranmukaha. other living entities are from beginning, they are not favorably disposed. So why is it happened like this? Means swabhavataha tadiya jnana bhavat tadiya jnana abhavacha. Why it's happening is the first category from initially itself, they are aware of Krishna and their relationship with Krishna, whereas other category are not aware of Krishna and their relationship with Krishna, because of which, and when they're exposed to the material energy, because they don't have knowledge, they try to exploit and enjoy and everything, and then the karmic cycle begins. So now the question is how from here to go there is where it gets crucial. The essence is to again get the knowledge about Krishna and how to serve him. See, the difference between these two categories is knowledge. That this category don't have awareness. Like, see, for example, we don't, yesterday Vani was asking, oh, can you tell me how I can remember Krishna throughout the day? It's like, so we have to do some extra activity or some, mental exercises to do that. It's not natural for us right now. But whereas these souls are serving and remembering. That's what Sheetalji is also asking, I want to be like that. How do I be? So that's what we'll discuss today, how to go from here to there. Okay. So this two categories. Anaditaha makes it eternally. So they are living entities eternally serving Vishnu. And this is Vaikuntha planet. Everybody has the same four-handed form and exactly like Vishnu. Only difference is he has Srivatsa, like a white hair. Others don't have. They have all the opulences. They have spiritual body. Even though it is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, even though they are with their consorts or wives who are so beautiful, they don't feel like enjoying them. They want to actually only hear Vishnu's glories and serve him like that. So that much they have the devotional attitude, that they don't get distracted towards their own enjoyment. But whereas here, any small thing we give, we try to only enjoy. Okay, what is in it for me? See, today morning I was discussing Bhagavad-gītā first chapter with the kids, and Arjuna is telling there, I don't want to fight the war. He's giving the second reason, no happiness. And he's telling, even if I die, it's okay, because if we kill all these people, how will I enjoy the kingdom? With whom will I enjoy? What's the point in getting this kingdom and everybody dies? I will not get any happiness, because when we get something, I need to share with my relatives to show off and to share with them. That's when I get more happiness. So how will I share? So I don't want this kingdom. So he's always thinking what is in it for him at the beginning of Bhagavad-gītā. So the whole Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna told to Arjuna to change his consciousness so he can fight as a devotional service to Krishna, because he wants the war. That's another question, why he wants the war. Somebody will think, oh, what is this God? He's cruel, he's triggering violence, right? That's because he came for dharma samsthapanarthaya, sambhavami yuge yuge. He has to re-establish the religion. Right, so for that Arjuna is the instrument, and he has to do it as a service to Krishna. But he is initially thinking about, oh, I don't want to do, I don't get happiness. He's always thinking I. But only towards the end of Bhagavad-gītā, finally Krishna says, yatechasi tata kuru, whatever you like you do. Then Arjuna says, okay, nashta moham, I lost all my illusion, I lost all my doubts, now I will do exactly what you tell. See, again there's a free will. Krishna didn't say, I'm telling you do, you're forced to do. He told Arjuna, I gave you knowledge, now you do what you want to do. Right? So that's how Krishna is, because love cannot be forced. There is no meaning for love if it's force. Right? If suppose a child, we buy like a lot of chocolates for kids, right? And the kid doesn't need to do anything. The parent only gave all the chocolates for the children to enjoy, for them to be happy. But on its own, if the child gets one chocolate and gives to the mother, Mama, please take it. How nice it is. The mother feels so touched. Actually, Krishna only, or rather the mother only gave all the chocolates. But that is the way the child is showing its affection back to the mother. The mother will be like, wow, my child loves me so much. It's nothing. The chocolate is nothing actually. Right? So similarly, Krishna owns everything. He has everything. He doesn't need anything from us. But the token thing which we are showing by chanting his name is just a way for us to tell, I want to again love you. Please, can you help me? Please give me the knowledge about you. Please give me the process to again revive, how to serve you. I forget you. I don't even remember you. Whole day I'm going up and down, doing my job, struggling and frustrated with so many issues, wars, news, everything is only miserable things we are hearing. I don't find any happiness. So there is something beyond this. That's where, we get into this Sangha of where we hear about all this. So this is the crux. The next one. So how, another point is eternally revelated, eternally conditioned. So we don't even cannot trace since when we are here, right? So that means so many lifetimes is going on, going on, going on. But there is a what to say, a secret or treasure for us. There is a way to go from here to here. That's where Sheetalji's answer will come. So how from being frustrated, pulled by the three modes, passion, goodness, and ignorance, instead of that, we think we are independent, but every minute we are controlled by our senses, controlled by material modes. From there to be eternally liberated and freely serve Krishna or Vishnu or our Ishtadev. So that is our next crux of the next rest of the presentation. How from conditioned state can we go to liberated state? एवं पञ्जरबन्धोऽयं जीव शोचति सर्वदा कदाचित् सत्प्रसङ्गेन तस्य मोक्षो विधीयते. This is exactly what we are doing here. Panjarabandha, I told, right? It's like a bird in the cage. So we are stuck. Bandha means we are stuck in this panjara of the body and also this whole material world in a way. Evam, in this way, ayam jivaha, this jiva, shochati sarvada. Sarvada means always. Shochati means laments. He always laments. Of course, only intelligent people lament. Other people are happily enjoying still. Kadachit, certain point, suddenly. Kada means at a particular time. Sat prasangena, sadhu sangena, in the context of sadhus. Tasya moksho vidiyate. He will begin his journey for moksha. Exactly. So all we need is the association of saintly devotees who can talk spiritual subject matters. And in their association, when we hear about Krishna, that's where our journey begins. Then we'll realize actually we are drowning in this ocean of material existence. Eventually we'll cry out, प्रतिज्ञा तव गोविन्द न मे भक्त प्रणश्यति इति संसृत्य प्राणान् सन्धारयाम्यहम्. This Draupadi is praying. They, Pandavas, have encountered so many tribulations, so many issues all the time. But all the time he remembers Krishna, that Krishna says, Name Bhakta Pranashyati, my devotee never perishes. I protect my devotee. Krishna, your promise, Pratignya Tava Govinda, Govinda, your promise that your devotee never perishes. Remembering that, I'm just living day by day. I'm just living day by day, knowing that you are there to protect me. So that much the devotee feels in this world, that there's so much pain I'm suffering, first of all, from this world. And on top of it, if somebody is advanced, when they develop little bit love for Krishna, then they will feel separation from Krishna. They feel, I'm here and you are there. I want to be with you. Can you please, show me, talk to me. So like the devotee prays. Yadrichaya. Another meaning for kadachit is yadrichaya means on their own. Yatha ichchati means suddenly a devotee walks into our life. There is no cause for that. We didn't do anything. It's just that's why it's called causeless mercy. So devotees know what is the will of Krishna, that he wants everybody to be happy, eternally happy. So devotees, they go out of their way to spend their time, energy to share this knowledge. And if such thing happened in our life, that means already Krishna is blessing us. The first ray of Krishna's mercy is a sadhu enters our life. That means Krishna is already hearing our prayers. Now, what do we do next is in our hands, because free will is always there. So that's why it's given sadhu sanga sarva shastra koye lavamatra sadhu sanga sarva siddhi hoye. Just a little bit association of devotees is actually sarva siddhi. It gives us all siddhis what we want, because they will completely change our calculation of what is good, what is not good, and They will step by step lead us to the spiritual life where it's complete happiness. Okay. So now next, continuing further, again emphasis on sadhu sangha. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hrudkarna rasayana katah tajjoshanadashu apavarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishyati. Satam prasangat. Satam means in the saintly people, prasangat, association, in their context. What do they discuss? Saintly people don't discuss about how to enjoy, how to drink, how to go to this party, that party. They will only discuss Mama Virya Samvidaha. They will discuss about Krishna's glories and how he is so wonderful, how he is so beautiful, how he is so loving. They will only discuss about that. In that association, what happens? Hritkarna rasayanaha, those kataha, those pastimes or those stories becomes like a rasayana, very, very pleasing or very kind of medicinal to hrit, heart and ears. Bhavanti, they become, they are. So this pastimes, when are heard in the sangha of devotees, become very pleasing to the ear and the heart. It satisfies the heart. And that Joshanat, by hearing them, by relishing them, Ashu immediately Apavarga Vartmani, that soul starts his journey in Apavarga. Apavarga is another name for liberation. He's already begun his journey for liberation, because of which gradually he will become Shraddha. He will get faith in the process of devotional service, and eventually he'll be Rati, or it's complete, it's like a bhava attachment, and bhakti is prema. Anukramishati, gradually they will come. So what is this pavarga? That is all. It's a pavarga is another name for material existence. Pa is parabhava, means defeat. We always are facing defeat. Whatever endeavor we do, there is always a defeat. There is always somebody better than us. There is already somebody more beautiful than us. There is somebody always more richer than us. So in this fight of who is better, who is best, we are always getting defeated. On top, other meanings, parishrama, we have to work hard, work hard. Actually, Prabhupada says that the best, most happiest person is the person who doesn't step out of the home for work, who can just stay at home nicely and stay. That is the most happiest person. And that ideal thing is a simple living high thinking, is to have our own farm, have cows, and nicely get some grains from the land and get milk from the cow, and be happy, and rest of the life use it in devotional service. If at all we are such simple minded, but devotional service can help us come to that stage where we understand there is no we want to reduce all these material engagements and come simplify our life, so we can remember Krishna most of the time. Then what happens after all the effort? All we get is pena. Pena is foam. It's like when we are very tired, when we sleep, sometimes we get foam in the mouth. So we all are drooling, with so much tiredness. Then banda, we get bondage with all the things we have. We are attached to our car, our relatives, and anything happens to anything which is connected to us, we get the pain, because so much bondage, and also karma. Not only in this life, now we have to go through so many lives. Then finally, bhaya, there's fear of losing wealth, fear that thief will come and steal things, the fear that something happened to my beloveds, that my husband went on the road. If suppose something happens to him and he dies, what will happen to me? Always is fear. But whereas abhaya charanara vindare, if we take shelter of Krishna, then we can be abhaya, fearless. Then finally we face mrityu, death. So this is pa, pa, ba, bha, ma, pavarga. If you know Hindi, you'll know, right? Pa, pa, ba, ba, ma. So when somebody says pavarga, means actually it summarizes the whole material existence. And apavarga is completely opposite, which is liberation, where we don't have to face all of this. So this nice image, this is a very nice pastime where Narada Muni, I will briefly summarize. Narada Muni, he was actually son of a maid servant in his previous life. And he doesn't have father. So maid servant only used to take care of him nicely, and he was a 5-year-old boy. But she is a very nice, saintly, in the sense she's very favorable to devotional service. So during the Chaturmasya, all the sages, they travel for rainy season, they stay in particular ashram and they do devotional service. So one time they came to that nearby ashram. Then this mother and mother served the sages very nicely. Whatever is needed for cleaning and other things, she did very nicely. And the boy was always hearing what they're discussing, what they're doing, and also he was also helping his mother. Then he was serving them prasadam. At one point, the sages became very very merciful, and they gave their own remnants. No, whatever they ate, rest of it, no, from the mouth, if the saintly person's remnants, if we take, that actually accelerates our spiritual progress. So then they gave the remnants to um, Narada Muni, and after he ate, immediately he started liking or actually he was already liking, but he made rapid advancement that actually he became very, very advanced that once his own mother passed away because of the only shelter he has was his mother passed away because of the snake bite. He didn't get disturbed at all. He took it as mercy of Krishna that okay, now I can fully depend on my Krishna rather than my mother. And he just walked out as a 5-year-old boy. He passed towns, passed villages very fearlessly. Finally, he came to Madhuvan in Vrindavan. He sat there and started meditating using the process given by the sages. And he actually even got darshan of Vishnu within his heart. Like that, that much advanced he became, all because of the association of devotees and the getting their mercy. Right? So that's what the satam prasangam does. Gradually, it helps us come to this process, right? But there is nothing like automatic button, right? Even if a saintly person is very very merciful and blesses us, it doesn't happen automatically. So it's a gradual journey and gradual process. It has to be done gradually, so we balance all our duties. So there is nothing extreme can be done. It's like the saints, olden some katha, some stories we hear. Some sage will come, will touch our head, and suddenly some shaking happens. So there's nothing like that mystical experience, but it can be experienced from the day when we begin devotional service, because Krishna says Raja Vidya Rajaguhyam Pratyaksham Avagamanam Dharmyam, directly experienceable. The moment we begin the devotional service, which is you're already begin by hearing about Krishna, that's already devotional service. By that already you are already feeling some happiness, some satisfaction. So that we just need to know how to increase it further, and um, based on how much ever our capacity and our desire is. That's it. So this is another verse. Very nice thing here. This is a one devotee. He's immersed in hearing katha of the sages, and Krishna is in their heart, and he is actually cleansing the dirty things from within the heart. So somebody was asking Vani, okay, Pranati, yeah, I know you're doing very nice courses. You're putting every concepts together, but we are just hearing and going. Is there anything we can do further? She was asking. But actually, Shravanam is the beginning stage of bhakti. By doing Shravanam, what will happen is Shrunvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hrudyantasto hi abhadrani vidhunoti suhritsatam. Shrunvatam, if one hears Swakataha, Krishna's katha, Krishna Eva, Punya Shravana Kirtana, which are all very auspicious in hearing and glorifying. So the person who glorifies Krishna and person who hears about Krishna gains auspiciousness. What will happen by doing that is Krishna abhadrani vidunoti. Krishna is situated in Hrudyantastaha. Krishna, Hrudi means Hrut means heart. Antastaha means inside. Krishna, who is situated within the heart, abhadrani vidunoti. Vidunoti means cleansing or cleaning. So Krishna acts like a vacuum cleaner inside our heart, and he cleanses our heart of all the bad things which are causing us distress. What are the bad things? Lust, anger, greed, pride, illusion, envy. These are the 6 enemies which are accompanying the soul from time immemorial based on our samskaras we have cultivated during our material sojourn. So that one needs an expert person has to cleanse that. We know only contaminate ourselves. We don't know how to clean ourselves. That's our miserable situation. So the only when we take shelter and hear Krishna's katha based on the eagerness with which we hear. This is also proportionate to the eagerness. See, somebody can come and casually hear and go, but somebody will hear with so much relish and like, wow, I want to hear this. So one of my cousin, he was hearing, he's from Dallas, he hears the recordings. So he sent a message. I didn't even realize he's actually my own mama's son, right? He later told, Akka, Akka, he's telling. I was thinking, why he's saying Akka? Then I realized he's own my mama's son, he told. Then he told, Amma, Akka, I'm relishing this so much. I want my wife to hear. I added her to the group. Please, share with her. So, that's the relish one has and that eagerness to come and hear. That to that extent, Krishna is gradually uh, freeing us of all the dirty things. And Vidunoti Suhrit Satam for the saintly devotees who becomes Krishna becomes their Suhrit. As I discussed last time, well wisher. Being his well wisher, Krishna immediately likes, oh, this person has developed interest in hearing about me. I'm very happy. I will help this person. Like that. Okay. So that's how we begin. The journey begins with Shravanam. Okay, that's what we are doing already. Eventually, when we take up devotional service more intensely, there's so much science. It's very, very scientific. There are stages of making advancement. You can measure where you are, and there are so much guidance about how to deal with people, how to deal with world, how to deal with devotees. So much knowledge. It's not that once you know that, okay, I have to do devotional service, that's enough. You have to keep on hearing. But now the questions will not be why I should do devotional service. The questions will be how I'll do devotional service. How do I chant better? How do I remember Krishna more and more? How do I read Bhagavad-gītā? That questions will come. Because once you are convinced with the path and the journey and it makes sense to you. So that's why this whole this is just an overview, giving you the highlighting the goal and kind of preparing little bit. So once if you are willing, then at the end in the practical session, we'll give you some practical things how to do it, and then eventually we can take up advanced courses based on your eagerness, where we can nurture this bhakti further. So eventually, when we can come to the stage of Jivan Muktaha. That means while we are in this world, while we are engaged in this body, we can be liberated. Forget about liberation afterwards. Even in this life also, we can feel liberated. How that is described in this verse. Ihayasya harer dasye karmana manasagira nikhilaswapyavastasu Jivan Mukta sayuchyate. Okay, he's called Jivan Mukta. Sa Uchyate. Saha, that person is called Jivan Mukta. When Iha, in this world, Yasya, Harer Dasye, in service to Krishna. Dasya means service. Harer means of Krishna. It's called Shashti Vibhakti. So Krishnasya Dasya. So in the service to Krishna, who is engaged, Yasya, with what? Karmana, with his works, Manasa, with his mind, Gira, with his words. If all of them are dovetailed in Krishna's service in this world all the time, then in all situations, Nikilashvapi Avasthasu, in all the situations, the devotee is actually already liberated. They're just waiting for them. They're already continuous. Imagine, already in this world, if you're continuously serving Krishna in every moment, is there any difference between us and in the spiritual world? Of course, one difference is that we will get effect of this world. Whatever wars are happening, we have to, have the cumulative effect will be there. But still, we are already, doing the activities of people in the spiritual world. So it's just a matter of time when we leave this body that Krishna will take us to the spiritual world. But already we are already experiencing the happiness by doing devotional service. So this is a short translation. Somebody can read. Sheetalji, can you read this?
Anyone who, by his actions, mind, and words, lives only for the transcendental, loving service of the God, is certainly a liberated soul, even though he may appear to be in a condition of material existence.
Okay, so that's what it is. So all we have to do is always try to dovetail everything in devotion service. So this is one like last, this called, Jivan Mukta means Jivan Api Muktaha. Even though one is living, they are already liberated. That's the meaning of this phrase. So we'll be ending with this pastime. This is our Srila Prabhupada, who founded the ISKCON. So whole life He said, actually, Srila Prabhupada, one time he mentioned, there was not even a moment I forgot Radha and Krishna. Because he is born in a devotee family. From childhood, his father was always worshipping Krishna. He only ate prasadam and everything, and he worshipped Radha Govinda, and he became and later he met his spiritual master, Bhakti Siddhanta, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who ordered him, you preach in Western world, you preach in English language. Hence, being a sadhu living in Vrindavan, he crossed the 7 oceans and went to the west to preach. And actually, that's such an austere thing for a sadhu. Imagine, they love Krishna so much, they like to stay in Vrindavan because there they can remember Krishna very easily. But still, to fulfill the order of his spiritual master, he went to the west to give this knowledge to everybody. And that's how we came to Krishna consciousness. Fortunately, unfortunately, we didn't take up Krishna consciousness when we were in India. So we met Krishna in the States. If Prabhupada wouldn't have come, I don't know what will happen to all of us, what will be doing, and what will be the goal we'll be pursuing. Our life will be so miserable, and there is no option to get out of it. We'll be just drowning, drowning. So, and at the end, towards the end of his pastimes in this world, and because he was commenting on Srimad Bhagavatam, it's translating to English, and he did until 10th canto, which is nothing but Krishna's pastimes. He did it until there, and he knew he may not live further. So before itself, he summarized the whole 10th canto in the form of Krishna book. Okay. So that Krishna book, he did it. He gave to everybody. Actually, 10th canto is very, very elevated subject. Only when somebody studies whole 9 cantos can they read the 10th canto. But because of his love, he summarized the whole 10th canto along with mixing with philosophy. He gave it as a book which anybody can read. And actually, I would suggest, Sheetalji or Vani, whoever, you're very eager now, you're already asking questions. How do I get more from beyond these sessions? I would suggest you to read Krishna book, especially night time and as a bedtime reading. There is physical book you can purchase, or online also. I'll give you a link where you can read online. It's all
Sure.
about Krishna's pastimes in this world. So you will start to develop love for him, the person. Unless we know about the person, what he does, how can we develop love? So once you become attached to him, then you'll feel, okay, now, okay, I don't mind, now I'll chant for him, I'll do all this. First thing is we need to get the taste. Actually, my husband, he came to spiritual life because of the Krishna book only. He was traveling one time from one city to the other city in the US. He also came in the US, and suddenly he's in his room. He generally loves to read about race cars at that time. He was not a devotee. He used to follow car racing and other things. Then, but suddenly he thought, oh, I'm going in this 3-hour flight. Why always take magazines? Let me take something different. Then in the bookshelf, he saw something called Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then he looked at the pages and he saw some images, and he felt, oh, this seems very interesting. Let me take it. So the whole flight, 3 hours, he read that book. And that's it. He felt, wow, on his own, without association of devotees. He started chanting because Prabhupada gave all the thing in the book. He started offering prasadam to Krishna, which is what I will tell at the end of the series. He started doing all that. Then then he was looking, where is ISKCON? Where is the center where I can meet with other devotees and chant together and hear more? That's how he started his journey. So, the books, we don't know what magic the books do. And Srila Prabhupada said, actually, my books are my spiritual ecstasies. So all his love and devotion for Krishna, he has put it in a very accessible way in English language, where most of us can only appreciate. We cannot no longer understand Sanskrit unless we study. So it's a very nice bedtime reading, or whole day reading, especially if you are avid reader. So I will give you the link for the Krishna book online as well. Okay, later.
Thank
So
you.
thank you, Sheetalji. And then now we'll summarize what did we discuss today. Is that we discussed, first started with Krishna's energies. We discussed there's the internal energy which helps us come closer to Krishna. There's external energy which takes us away from Krishna and diverts us. See, the moment we on the TV, the moment we walk out, the moment we see different things, we immediately want to enjoy. Our senses are pulling for enjoyment. But whereas the Jiva is the Tatastha Shakti, which can be influenced by each of them, and we have a free will by which we can make a choice whether to be surrounded by what energy, which energy we should be surrounded by. And the Jiva, we discussed about the constitution. It is Krishna's Amsha, part and parcel. That's why it's called Sachidananda also. And characteristics, it cannot be destroyed, but at the same time, it has a free will. So it is full of knowledge also. That knowledge has to be revived, because right now we are thinking we're the body and we are forgetting everything. Okay, and there are two categories of jivas: eternally liberated, eternally bonded or conditioned, right, in this material world. But even in this material world, if somebody is fully engaged in devotional service, they are considered liberated. So what is the journey from conditioned to liberated? It starts with hearing, which we are already doing, and gradually Krishna, seeing our eagerness, he cleanses the dirty things and he gives us the inspiration to practice further. And when our situation, when we take up, we will gradually see more and more happiness. And eventually, when we become Jivan Mukta, while in this world also, we can be liberated. Even if we see so much sense gratification earlier, which used to pull us right in front of us, we never get disturbed. I'll give you one personal example. So, so recently, in when last December, we celebrated in our college. I studied from REC Varangal. My computer science I did. So we celebrated a 25-year reunion with all our classmates. That's where actually I met all my friends, the Sujata and Bharati and Vani. They're coming from there. So I did my since I took up Krishna consciousness very early, right, 26 years when I was in there. And then after that have been practicing. I wouldn't imagine actually coming to the reunion generally, actually, because I know, mostly there'll be partying and, different kinds of foods. We generally, devotees like to eat prasadam. So there will be onion, garlic, there'll be meat, there'll be drinking. So then generally devotees don't prefer to be part of those things, because we have our happiness elsewhere. We really happy, hearing about Krishna. That's where our happiness is. Nobody is forcing us. We love to do that and we like to do it because some amount of purification happened. But then I realized, some of my friends, already they finished 25 years. So they would have pursued this material happiness for 25 years. They are in high positions in society and they would have had enough of material happiness. So maybe there are some people who are thinking, actually it's not satisfying to me. Is there something beyond this? So I went as a messenger just to be there in case somebody is asking questions and thinking about it, I can help them. And that's the reason I went. And same things were happening, partying and everything was happening. I was there, right there. I was sitting, watching everything. But I was not interested. And at the same time, I was not forcing myself, that nobody is seeing me there actually. My husband is not there. My husband is also devotee, right? And my children are not there. Nobody is there to tell, oh, Śyāmalā or Pranati. Nobody is there. Okay, just have a sip or eat some non-veg. I could do anything, but I myself don't have the taste. I don't have the interest. I don't. It's not also. I'm not forcing myself also. It's not like, oh, okay, I should not see there. Oh, if I see there, I get tempted. No, the purification, the higher taste has come. That that lower taste goes away, and you don't have to force yourself to withdraw from that. So that's what the potency of bhakti does. At the same time, it's not that you're miserable. You're extremely happy. You're happy because you're so selfless and satisfied that actually you gain happiness in doing selfless things, which nobody can imagine. Somebody will think, oh, why she is putting so much effort and doing all this, and somebody is saying thanking me. I feel this is my joyful service. I get so much joy in doing this. Nobody has to thank me. I actually thank you that at least one person is coming and listening, so we can do this recording and hopefully somebody will listen. So you see, right, it's completely contrast, different worlds altogether. But while we are in this world, we can also experience that world. Okay, so that's the few points. So now we can end actually with Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Then I will open up with questions or comments. Okay, Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Okay, so now some questions or comments. So Sheetalji, partly did it answer the question?
It did, but it's an effort, ma'am, to really remember. You forget with your routine work. I really want to make my work, my food, everything, thinking about my Ishtadevta and Krishna. So the bedtime stories, how the Connect started, I went to ISKCON Mandir and I picked up children books because the Gita I have picked up twice, but I've never even read it because it's very difficult for me to even understand what it is. So I picked up these children's story and I'm daily reading. I have 6 versions. So I'm enjoying that, but I want to really feel fearless, and say that Krishna is there if there is any difficulty coming in a day, whether it's with my body, whether it's with my food, work, whatever. How do I enhance that?
So what you can do is, yeah, I thought of sharing this in the last session, but I will share with you because you're so eager and you're already in the process. So as I mentioned, the process of devotional service begins with Shravanam. Okay. So already we are doing this is only once a week session. But I shared with Vani a small playlist of Srila Prabhupada's lectures, which is just 7-minute lectures. So you can every day hear, make it a routine. As you said, we get busy with our life, right? So what you have to
Right.
do is you have to discipline yourself. That, okay, at least minimally, because you have this desire, at least minimally one lecture I will listen per day. So you have to make a discipline like that. Okay. Otherwise, if you just let it go, then after 1 month also you just have a desire, but you didn't work on it. So you will just remain the same place. But if you work on it, then you are already satisfying your own desire. At the same time, you'll gain happiness. So I'll give you that playlist, okay,
Okay.
of short 7-minute videos of Srila Prabhupada. And other thing, as you already are reading this short story books, you can also begin reading Krishna book whenever you get time. And other thing is the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. So that one, as you mentioned, I don't know your situation, you're telling how much you can practice and all. That I will show you with the beads you can hold and you can chant. Or if beads holding and doing is also difficult, just remember his name all throughout the day whenever you can. Okay, because what is this? Harer Nama, Harer Nama iva kevalam, kalau nastyeva gatiranyata. So in this Kali Yuga, there is no other way, no other way, no other way than chanting the holy name. Because this age is so difficult age. There is Alpayushaha, the age of people is very limited. The max they can live for 100 years. On top of it, there's so much trials and tribulation somebody has to face, everything. So that's why the process is very simple and easy. Just by chanting his names, one gets cleansed gradually. So when gets cleansed, then the vidya will come, avidya will go away, and gradually the remembrance of Krishna will increase. So, like for example, sitting up, getting up, or driving in the car, just say his name or sing Hare Krishna mantra or listen to bhajans, wherever it's convenient. Just surround yourself with, there's so many things now in the internet, right? Or devices which technology we can make use of, right? So like that you should be actively making a plan for your day. Like some things you write down, what are the practical things you can do, and then start doing that. Then gradually you will gain more and more happiness, and you want to increase more and more, like that. At least we'll start with the proper short list, and
Yes.
even beyond that, if you want more, I can give you a little longer lectures by other teachers whom I also listen, and we can proceed like that. And
I'll
also,
start with the book and lectures. That's very
okay,
important to me.
yes.
One more thing on the bhog application. I don't know how, because see, we eat garlic and onion. I really don't know what do I do. We eat all those things.
Yeah, no problem. Right now, don't need. Actually, with my friends also, when I told, all you have to do is you can just see. Krishna says, "Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti upahartam ashnami prayatatmanaha." Krishna says, you offer me a leaf, patram, pushpam, a flower, phalam, fruit, leaf, and water, toyam. I will be happy. So Krishna sees our intent. So in practically right now, there's nothing you need to change. You just need to add Krishna to your life. That's what we need to do. And gradually, with guidance and association, things can change based on your family situation. That's not a problem at all. So all you can do is, if you want to do, so if there is a clean cup, or if you have a tulsi plant in front of your house,
Yes.
every day take one leaf and offer to Krishna photo. Okay? And just one time you say Hare Krishna mantra one time, or you can say Hare Krishna. That's enough. That's also fine. Krishna, please kindly accept this. That's it. Just do that small thing. Rest of it, leave it as it is. Then gradually, I can work with you individually also, and then I will see how you're progressing. Based on that, I can help you further to increase based on your current situation.
Sure.
Okay. So any other questions or comments anybody has?
Mataji, I have one question. This whenever we do this rounds, because last 4 5 months only I started doing 16 rounds. So I try to do it very calmly and individually. But being in a family, like when I reach a 10th mala, suddenly someone start talking to me. ये कहाँ रखा है वो कहाँ रखा है. Is it fine? Like मैं अगर कोशिश
Yeah.
करती हूँ कि कंसंट्रेट करके करूँ, पर थोड़ा वो 8 10 माला हो जाती है माता जी, बट थोड़े 1 2 माला में बहुत डिस्टर्ब होता है, तो वो फाइन है ना मैं मतलब.
Fine hai, both fine, no problem. Actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says there is not even a time, place, and restrictions. What is this? Nakale. Okay. Nam. Now, what is this? I'm forgetting the Shishashtakam verse. He says that
Mm-hmm.
there is no hard and fast rules for chanting. That's why for Sheetalji, I was telling, while driving, she can sing his name. While, of course, you cannot count like it's a mala done. Okay. But
Yeah,
because she's at the initial stage, she can do
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But at the same time, there are no hard and fast rules. So
Uh-huh.
especially we are family members, we have to take care of kids, everything. We cannot
Mm,
sit in one room for 2 hours and neglect all our duties. And so already
mm,
you're doing 8 10 rounds nicely. That's very appreciable and that's very encouraging.
mm,
I wish I could also do. I also family. I also have kids. Sometimes
mm,
it's difficult to find that focus. So no problem at
mm,
all. Don't worry.
mhm,
Just that when you talk, don't keep while talking. Sorry, while taking care of that, don't keep
mm.
chanting. Just hold your
Yeah,
bead, do that work, help them, everything, and then you continue.
fine. And thank you, Mataji, for very wonderful lecture. It's really nice. Very our pleasure listening your words, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.